Today's lesson is two-step inequalities. Our goal is that we can solve two-step inequalities. Remember that solving inequalities, just like one step, two-step inequalities, is the same way you solve two-step equations. So we're going to solve and graph the following inequality. So here's our inequality. The first step is that we subtract 2 from both sides. Our inequality is 4x plus 2 is less than negative 6. So our first step is that we will subtract 2 from both sides. So we will get the negative 2, or minus 2 on both sides. And when we do that, we get 4x is less than negative 8. Our next step is that we divide both sides by 4. So we get 4x divided by 4 and negative 8 divided by 4. So we get x is less than negative 2. Then we graph our answer on the number line. And I forgot the graph. Hold on one second while I pull up a graph. Okay, so our last step is on this equation, or the inequality, is to graph it. So x is negative 2, so we find negative 2 on the number line. It's an open circle because it's not including the negative 2, and its x is less than negative 2, so we want all values that are less than negative 2, so we're going to go left on the number line. And there we go. We have it graphed. Moving on to our next slide. Actually, I guess I don't need to hide that because it's the same thing as what we did last time. Okay, so our inequality is negative 3x minus 5 is greater than or equal to 13. So we're going to add 5 to both sides. And we get negative 3x is greater than or equal to 18. We divide each side by negative 3. So when we divide by negative 3, if you'll recall, our sign has to flip. So we end up with x is less than or equal to negative 6. And our final step again is to graph that. So we find our negative 6 on the number line. And this time it is including that, so we shade it in because it's inclusive of that negative 6. Negative 6 could be a part of our solution, and we want everything less than negative 6 included in there also. So we graph it and we are good to go. All right, and our next one is independent practice. I want you to do these equations or these inequalities. Remember, pause it and then come back and we'll work through. All right, so you did 5x minus 7 is greater than 8. You should have added 7 to both sides. You get 5x is greater than 15. Divide both sides by 5. You should get x is greater than 3. Oops, that doesn't work very well. All right, scroll back up. I just knocked my page down. Okay, so we graph it and we get an open circle at 3. X is greater than 3, so we go right. And looks like that. Wow, that's a straight line. Okay, like that line tool. Okay, and then the last one, negative 6x plus 9. We subtract 9 from both sides. We get negative 6x is less than 30. Divide both sides by negative 6. Hopefully you remembered that you have to flip the sign because we divided by a negative 6. And we get x is greater than negative 5. Again, we go to graph that. We go to negative 5, and it is not included again. and we go to the left because it was -5, and graph it that way, and we are finished. I hope you enjoyed today's lesson. If you have any questions, please make sure that you have written them down to bring them to class next time we see each other. Have a nice day.